I had this great conversation with a good friend of mine over dinner about a week ago, talking about friendships and specifically how we develop them. And we were talking about that first stage of friendship that starts when you first meet someone and ends when you first truly become vulnerable to them. That first stage of friendship is the thing that looks the most similar between all of your friends because it's kind of one that follows a pattern. In that first stage, you're constantly condensing a whole trove of information about you and who you are and what you are afraid of and what you are excited about into a very small, easily comprehensible list of attributes. Because of this, we tend to try and contrive that first level of friendship, to choose the aspects of us that are most universally appealing and share those first so that we have the greatest likelihood of being liked. We run into a problem though when we think that that reductive definition of us is the entire definition of us, or the entire definition that's worthwhile. When I was thinking about this and I was trying to figure out how we can navigate our way through these very stilted social situations without losing our essence, I couldn't help but thinking that it's kind of like having 2D vision in a 3D world. All of us who have vision perceive the three-dimensional world around us in only 2 dimensions, width and height. From the 2-dimensional stimulus that we receive, our minds infer that third dimension. We figure out what the depth of distance is between and around things so that we can navigate the world around us. But we don't actually see that depth, and our inference can be tricked by very clever uses of angles. And this is a well-known fact in photography and cinematography. If you have a shot from below, like it is right now, it's called worm's eye view because it makes the person observing sort of think that the person that is being observed is imposing, perhaps commanding, or even intimidating. In contrast, if I use an angle that's above me and you're looking at me, then I look smaller than you, which typically makes me a little bit more relatable or pitiable, or as I've read online, more attractive. Having an angle from behind can make you feel like you're looking over my shoulder, and it can make it seem like I am dedicated, I am focused, I am so intent on the thing that I am creating that I don't have time to look at you. Though I'm the same person through all of these angles, though I'm the same collection of atoms, the way that you see me, the things that you extrapolate from how you see me changes with the different angles, the different perspectives that you have of me. Our understanding of each other, our communication, our expression of our souls is hampered by this 2-dimensional weakness. When people describe you as funny or interesting or alluring or awkward or smart, they're just expressing some angle that they've caught of you that they've found noteworthy. And if you have a certain set of social skills to be able to detect the way that the people around you perceive different things, you can switch up the angles and give a large number of people the same unified, powerful interpretation of who you are. The process of developing deeper relationships with other people is the process of losing your desire to contrive the angles. It's a process of letting people see angles of you that perhaps aren't quite so flattering, or perhaps you aren't quite sure of the effects of. It's a process of risk-taking with the hope that the other person will have some grace with what they discover. And as you move from the level of being friends with someone to being confidants, then you reach a certain shared understanding that you can show whatever angles are necessary at the moment, whatever angles feel the most immediate and most important, regardless of how that may portray you in a larger context. The ability to have seen the multitudinous angles of someone's personality, to be able to recognize both the positive and the very negative aspects of their character and still want to be around them, still want to help them, still want to be helped by them, is the strongest indicator of a valuable friendship that I can come up with. But above all, a true friend will know that you are not defined by your weaknesses, just as you are not defined by your strengths. Reaching that level of mutual vulnerability and honesty, and above all, transcendent understanding and trust, is a really weird thing to develop from this base layer of contriving the way that other people interpret you. This brings us back to the problem of never being able to push into deeper friendships, to never be able to get past those few positive angles of yourself that you show everybody. Sometimes the growth from single-angle friendship to multiple-angle vulnerability is foiled by external forces, by the people around us. Sometimes personality differences may prevent people from being able to empathize with you enough to sort of push to that deeper level, that less polished and fully elaborated level of communication. Other people may actively seek a level of vulnerability with very insidious intentions. They will simply want control over someone, or will want to have a very dominant role in the way that someone else lives their life for no other reason than just the feeling of having power. And those people you really need to avoid. But between those two extremes, we often know people that have the potential to empathize with us, but yet don't desire to be dictators over our lives. And with those people, the people that we know have both wisdom and empathy, the thing that often prevents us from developing deeper relationships is how we see ourselves. The most insidious potential outcome of seeking the perfect angles, the ones that will give you the best impression to acquaintances and base level friends, is that you start to believe the angles yourself. You start to see yourself, or the valuable part of yourself, as that sum of different qualities that has the most social currency, has the most value to making you valuable to acquaintances and people that you've never met. And this takes you down one of two paths: unbounded pride or inescapable self-revulsion. Some of us choose to believe that all we are is the flattering angles and all of the others simply don't exist. This prevents us from being at all vulnerable or empathetic with other people. We have no tolerance for weakness because we don't see ourselves as weak. Some people reach the opposite conclusion. They see the flattering angles not as the essence of their character, but something that's external to it. They drown themselves in the idea that they're really defined by the negative angles, by the things that they think people won't like, by the things that they think will be exposed as an eventuality. Both of these conclusions, the pride that seeks to erase all of the negative characteristics and the self-revulsion that obsesses over them, both refuse to believe the fact that we are all mixed people. All of us have admirable abilities and damaging deficiencies, but we don't really want to believe that. None of us like the idea of being a mixed bag, so we tend to swing to one extreme. In either case, we become addicted to the angles, obsessed with the ways that other people interpret us, and by extension, how we interpret ourselves. Once we break out of that and show someone who has wisdom and empathy, the multitudinous sides of our personality, our confidants help us from falling back into it. At times, they may remind us of our flaws, of our problems, of the things that we need to address, lest we think that we are perfect people. But at other times, they may remind us of the positive impact that we can or do have in other people's lives, to encourage us to not give up. They may get it wrong sometimes, see an angle and misread it, not understand what its significance is, and tell us to do something that probably wasn't the best idea. But on a whole, they're incredibly helpful, incredibly valuable, and I would argue essential to having a balanced life. As humans, we are always limited to two-dimensional perception, but we don't always need to be enslaved to it. Speaking of humans, and by extension other beings, one of the fundamental truths of Christianity is the idea that God sees us completely, but yet loves us fully, and that love is profound and demands a response. In essence, this is saying that God actually has that three-dimensional vision that we all strive for. He's impervious to the bias of angles. He has reached a level that we let no other people reach in the knowledge of who we are, partially out of fear, but yet he still loves us. Jesus' identity as God, his death, and his resurrection are all so critical to Christianity because they prove the essence of who God is. They show that he sees so comprehensively beyond the positive angles that we show everyone else, and we, to a degree, delude ourselves into believing, to see the things that we are ashamed of, the things that ultimately separate us from his perfection and peace. But beyond that, they show us that he cares enough with that knowledge to pay an incredible price to bring us into a restored relationship with him. It's really quite amazing. And then if that wasn't enough, he not only redeems us from the evil and shameful nature that we have to hide so much of the time, but he also wants to come in and actively engage in our lives, essentially be the ultimate confidant, because we know that he is always wise, and we know that he is always worth trusting. As humans, we lack that ability to reach a stage where we fully understand a person completely unbiased by the angles that we see and know exactly what they need to hear or do. But in spite of that, we can still be an incredible power to help the people around us. This is Jacke Karashae, wishing all of us freedom from the tyranny of the angles.
With everything I say.